so coming up, there's a couple things coming up for you to get recital attendance credits. Tonight is a cool event, which we've never done before at ETSU. I'm super excited about this not tonight, tomorrow night, outdoor opera. Raise your hand if you're in this. Yeah, so a lot of people, they're going to do it in the amphitheater next to the Culp. So it's amplified, it should be cool, but it's an opportunity to hear some of opera's greatest hits, including the title song, O Sole Mio, and all of the opera theater students will be in that. It is, I know this is confusing because it is opera pieces, but it is not a fully staged opera. So if you submit this, it doesn't count for opera recital attendance, it counts for student solo vocal, all right? So that's what it goes in as. But you can still hear that, it's gonna be cool, it should be a lot of fun, the weather's supposed to be awesome tomorrow night, so bring a blanket, bring a chair, go to the amphitheater. It starts at what time? 6:30. 6:30, okay, cool. This weekend, there's nothing really going on. Anybody want to announce anything for this weekend? Yeah?
Jazz band performs at the Bonnie Kate at 7:30 on Saturday.
Saturday? This Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Bonnie Kate, is that ticketed? Probably not. What? $10 per person. Bonnie Kate's not big, so if you're going to go, I would assume you should try and look that up online. It's in Elizabethton, but you can check that out. Cool. Next Monday is actually one of Dr. Farzana's guest artists. You want to say anything about Rebecca Percy?
Yes, Rebecca Percy. She is the piccolo player of the Johnson City Symphony Orchestra and also subs frequently with the Knoxville Symphony. And what's really fascinating about her is that she's actually a full-time data analysis person and tech savvy, but she still maintains a full life as a fantastic musician and piccolo player. So she's doing a recital Monday evening here at 7:30 p.m., so definitely be there.
Professional woodwind credit. Awesome. Go see that. Next Wednesday, we have another opportunity for professional piano. Alexander Dawson's going to be here in this room at 7:30 on Wednesday. And then next Friday is choral collage. Raise your hand if you're in choral collage. Lots of you. So this is student choral ensemble credit. Let me explain this because this is the first time we've hit this mark in the semester for new students. Choral collage is a ticketed event. So when you get to events that are sponsored by ETSU that are ticketed, it's a little bit different. So this is going to happen for the orchestra concerts, which are ticketed, the choir concerts, some of the guest artists, things like that. When you get here, because it's a ticketed event, and because there's more than 300 people, the lobby will be locked, and if you go in the student entrance, you'll still have to get a ticket to get in. So you should just go in the lobby side. Please don't come in the student entrance. There will be a table outside that says student tickets. This happens for all of our events. So again, choirs, orchestra, whatever. You don't have to pay if you have an ETSU student ID. Just go up to that table. They will give you a ticket. Now, if your friend from Milligan comes, they still need to buy a ticket. Non-ETSU student tickets are only $6, but they have to buy one. You get one for free because you go here. So you have to go outside of the security perimeter, get your little, it's inside the security perimeter. So you have to go through security. It's the world and times we live in, folks. But so scan that. What that also means, though, is like if you're working in the library or come from class, you got your backpack and whatever, and then you want to go to the concert Friday night, they're not going to let you in. So what we've had issues with before is if you have all your stuff, even your like instrument case, they don't want you to bring it in. So you can go in the student entrance, put your stuff in the band room and the choir room, or whatever, leave it there, mark it in a corner. The choir kids will be in there anyways. It'll be fine. There's lots of students. I wouldn't leave your wallet in there, but leave your stuff in there, then go back into security, grab a ticket, free ticket at the student ticket table, and then you can go in. That happens for all of our events every time they're ticketed. Everybody got it? Questions? Jenny, did I get it right?
No backpacks, that's the main.
Yeah. The big thing is, all of these events, they hire an external security company. They don't work for ETSU, it's Access Security. They don't really care who you are, okay? They don't work here. They're just gonna say, no backpack. So you've gotta leave it either in your locker, your car, or go leave it in the band room or the choir room, then go in, and then don't forget it afterwards and get it. Everybody got it? Okay, so I hope you can come next Friday. That's gonna be cool. That's the season opener for the choirs. Any other events you wanna announce really quick? Yeah.
This Saturday is the Chilhowie Apple Festival, which has a marching band competition, and you can go to that and get the marching band high school competition marked off your instrumental music major.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah.
This Friday is at 5:30 is the first meeting for the Mathis Aviation Academy. We're the Paper Airplane Club of PTSU, so it's a lot of fun.
I love it. Okay. Yes.
Oklahoma opens this weekend at the Paramount Bristol. You can see my wife in it.
Yeah. It should be good. Cool. That is ticketed also, so you can get those online. So I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Fazane to introduce our guest today. Like I mentioned last week, I think this is a lot of good information for all of us to have. So, Dr. Fazane.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to have a guest here who's very near and dear to my heart, Dr. Jennifer Parker-Harley. So I went to the University of South Carolina for my doctoral degree, and she was my mentor, flute teacher, now great friend and colleague. Some wonderful things about her. She's been at the University of South Carolina for 16 years. Prior to that, she was in the Columbus Symphony Orchestra in Ohio for 8 years, and has just been wonderful, so successful, still plays in plenty of orchestras like the South Carolina Philharmonic and the Charleston Symphony in South Carolina. And one other thing that I think is just phenomenal is she's huge into mindfulness, mental health, and awareness of all types. Recently, she was teacher certified in mindfulness through Koru Institute, which is now the Mindfulness Institute. So she has a plethora of knowledge of mindfulness, mental health awareness. And I know Dr. Waller talked some about mental health last week, so hopefully some of these mindfulness exercises will really help. So please help me introduce and welcome Dr. Jennifer Parker-Harley.
Thank you, guys. It's really great to be here and see where Dr. Farzana is working and meet all of you. And I got a chance to work with your fantastic flute studio last night. So it's been really great to be here. So what if I told you that there was something you could do every day, and if you spent 15 minutes doing this thing, all of these things would result. You would have lower stress, you would improve your memory, you would reduce your general anxiety, which we all can use this day and age. You could improve your self-awareness, you could increase your concentration and your attention span, you would sleep better, you could be more empathetic and kind, you could reduce performance anxiety, you could decrease the experience of physical pain, and you could lower your blood pressure. All in 15 minutes a day. Sounds like a superpower, right? It sounds like I'm describing something that, how could that possibly be? And here's the best part of it all. You don't need any technology, and it doesn't cost any money. For people like me who don't know how to operate technology, that's really, really good news. So what I'm talking about is mindfulness meditation. And this is something, it's a practice that's been around for thousands of years, and in many different cultures in the world. So let's break that down a little bit. What is mindfulness meditation? So we'll take that first word, mindfulness, and the definition that I use comes from a guy named John Kabat-Zinn. He lives in Boston, Massachusetts, and... Hello? Better? Okay. Let me know how this works. So John Kabat-Zinn, he works in Boston, Massachusetts, and he is the person who is largely responsible for bringing these ideas about mindfulness from the East to the United States. And this happened in the 1970s. And he's also a medical doctor and a psychologist. He's been working on using these ideas and helping people do all those things I mentioned, decrease their pain, reduce their anxiety, etc., through mindfulness meditation. So his definition of mindfulness is that it is the practice of choosing to pay attention in the present moment without judgment. So let's break that down a little further. Choosing to pay attention sounds simple enough. But if you think about what we pay attention to, a lot of times we are paying attention to what is brightest and loudest and most urgent, and we don't necessarily choose to pay attention to those things. We carry something around in our pocket every day, all of us, that we don't necessarily choose to pay attention to, but it's calling to us all the time, right? If you have a phone, that's how it feels. So mindfulness is deciding, I'm going to make the choice to pay attention to this particular thing. So the second part of the definition, in the present moment, again, simple enough, but a lot of what we as humans think about is the past and the future. We spend a lot of time reflecting, ruminating, why did I say that? What did she think when I said that? Oh no, that was terrible. That was the wrong thing to do. Or we're thinking about the future. We're planning, what's going to happen after this class is over. What am I going to do Friday night? What am I going to do when I graduate? What am I going to do in 5 years? We're always planning. Again, part of being human. So it's not that reflecting and planning are bad. They're really necessary, right? But we want to make sure that we also cultivate the skill of paying attention in the present moment so that when we're having a conversation with someone, we're not thinking about something that happened yesterday. Or we're not planning for what's going to happen tomorrow. We're truly listening to them. When we're on stage performing, anybody had the experience? You're standing there for your jury, your recital, and you're playing your piece, and then you realize that you're thinking about what's for dinner after the recital? It happens to me all the time. Please tell me I'm not alone, right? Okay, I'm glad there's one person out there who shares that experience with me. So, it happens all the time. We kind of miss out on that present moment experience because we're thinking about the past or the future. So mindfulness says we're going to choose to pay attention, and we're going to pay attention to the present moment. And then the last part of the definition, we're going to do this without judgment. That's a really hard one. As humans, we tend to categorize things. It's how the human mind works. And we like to put those things in two categories. I like it, I don't like it. Just about everything we see, everything we experience, whether we're aware of it or not, a lot of times we are putting things in those categories. Or when we're playing, we tend to say, oh, I missed that note. That was terrible. Why did you do that? Why can't you play a B flat instead of an A there? We tend to have this ongoing mental chatter all the time. If we're playing without judgment, we might say, oh, that was a B flat and not an A. Next time I'll get it right. And then you go on, so without judgment. These are simple things, but there's a saying that the simple things are the hardest. So mindfulness, the practice of choosing to pay attention in the present moment and without judgment. Okay, so then we get to the meditation part. What is meditation? I'm sure you might have a picture come to mind of someone sitting with their legs crossed on the floor and their arms out and their eyes closed, and that is a way of meditating. But there are many, many, many other ways of meditating. There's walking meditation, where you're really paying attention to what happens when your feet hit the ground. There's eating meditation, where you're really thinking about every bite. We tend to eat so fast because we all have so much to do. So there's an eating meditation where you take a raisin. First you smell it. You just put it on your tongue, and you take a long time to chew the raisin, staying in the present moment, really paying attention to what is it like to eat a raisin. I bet that's something you haven't thought about for a few years. chairs. And it can be really interesting. So try it sometime. There are also listening meditations where you are aware of sounds. So all different types of meditations. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you kind of a sampler platter of meditations. We're going to try a few different kinds. And I'll lead you through them. And you can kind of get a sense of what resonates with you and what you may want to look into more after today. So the first one we're going to do is called the awareness of breath meditation. And this is a very common meditation. Just about any meditation class you take, you're probably going to start with some kind of awareness of breath meditation. So I'm going to walk you through this. So go ahead and sit comfortably. Your back should be on the back of the chair, so you're supported by the back of the chair. Both feet on the floor, so your feet are supported by the floor. If you can put your arms on the armrests, that's a nice supportive position. Otherwise, hands in your lap. And you can choose to close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, I would suggest looking down and in front of you. When we look up, this tends to access an analytical part of the brain. So looking down and in front of you is going to be more calming. And it'll also be more calming if you find a focal point. If you find something that's down and in front of you, a little dot on the floor, the back of the chair that you can use as a focal point. So I want you to take some long, slow, deep breaths through your nose. And you'll notice when you breathe through your nose, it forces you to breathe slower. So think about your inhale through your nose and your exhale through your nose. See if you can make them equal lengths. Make your inhale the same length as your exhale. You might feel your rib cage expand when you breathe in. If you're a wind player or a vocalist, this is something you've thought about before, and it might feel familiar. So your mind is likely going to wander. That's just what human brains do. But when you notice that your mind has wandered, just bring your attention back to the breath. You might be aware of your rib cage expanding. You might be aware of the feeling of air coming in and out of your nose. When your mind wanders, just notice, oh, my mind wandered. And without judgment, bring your focus back to the breath. Use your breath as an anchor for your mind. Breath is always with us as long as we're alive, so we always have it to use as a focal point. might also try counting with each breath. So the in-breath is 1, the out-breath is 2, in-breath is 3, out-breath is 4, on up to 10. When you reach 10, you can start over. Remember that when your mind wanders, you can just gently bring it back to the feeling of breathing or to the numbers. And on your next out breath, you can open your eyes. So, did anybody notice that it was hard to concentrate on the breath? Yeah, this is a human phenomenon. And I was going to show you a video, but we couldn't get it to work. So I'll just tell you about it, and you should go look it up yourself because I think it's really helpful. There's a meditation app called Headspace, and it's run by a former Zen Buddhist monk. And there are a lot of animations that describe concepts about meditation that are really helpful. So one of the really common metaphors for the human mind when we're talking about meditation is the idea of monkey mind. So monkeys are always moving, right? They're climbing, they're running, they're flipping up and down. They don't stand still very much. And it's a little bit like our mind. This is a metaphor that's been around for thousands of years. So we know that this is a really human, universal experience, that our minds are going all the time, running, up and down and everywhere. So to sit still and really concentrate on one thing is more difficult than it sounds, and it takes practice. So, be patient with yourself. Employ that idea of non-judgment and know that you're experiencing something that is universally human when you experience the monkey mind. So we're going to try another type of meditation now. This is called a gatha meditation. A gatha is a meditation poem. It's a very short poem. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and then I'll walk you through it. So you'll say silently in your mind the 4 lines of the poem. You breathe in with the first line, out with the second line, in with the third line, out with the fourth line. And then after we do that for a few minutes, we'll shorten the lines to 1 word each. So the object, the focus of the meditation gets shorter throughout the meditation. A lot of people find this to be helpful to have these words that they can concentrate on. So again, put your back against the back of the chair, relax. Think about those points of tension that you probably have. We all seem to. So jaw muscle is a huge point of tension for most people. So soften that jaw muscle. Drop your shoulders. Put your feet flat on the floor. Relax your arms on the armrests or in your lap. Close your eyes or find a focal point in front of you. So I'll walk you through the poem. It's very easy to remember. So then I'll give you some time to do that on your own yourself. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in. I calm my body and my mind. Breathing out. I smile. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in. I calm my body and my mind. Breathing out. I smile. Breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in. I calm my body and my mind. Breathing out. I smile. So keep going, repeating these phrases silently to yourself, and go at whatever pace works for you. If you get lost or forget the phrases, it's not a big deal. Just start back at the beginning. Now let's drop down to just one word, keeping it linked with our breath. In out. Calm. Smile. In. Out. Calm. Smile. Keep going. Repeat these words silently to yourself at your own pace. Consider smiling when you get to the word smile. And notice what happens in your body and your mind with that smile. When your mind wanders, come back to your breath and your words. In, out. Calm. Smile. So if you're feeling like your concentration has stabilized a bit, you can try letting go of the words and just making the breath your focal point. If your mind gets restless, you can always go back to the words. On your next out breath, or when you get to the end of the poem, open your eyes. So what do you think? Did anybody find the words to be helpful? Have an affirmative out there. Good, good. So this is just tools in a toolbox. You know, you can use the breath as an object of focus. You can use a poem, words, as object of focus. You can also use counting as objects of focus. So these are really helpful tools in keeping us in the present moment. So before we do our next meditation, we're going to have another metaphor moment here. This one does not involve a video, so just a picture for you to look at. So the first metaphor, monkey mind, is something, like I said, it's something that has been used for thousands of years as a way to describe the human mind and the activity that is always going on in it. There's another great metaphor for meditation, I think, and it's the metaphor of the river. So if you think of your mind like a river, your thoughts are rushing, moving all the time. Sometimes it's going fast, sometimes it's calmer, sometimes there's stones in the way and it's splashing everywhere, sometimes it's very still, always moving. So a lot of times, you know, we can be standing in the middle of the river and we're just being batted one way and the other by the water. You know, whatever thought comes along, we go with it. Our emotions, our thoughts are up and down, kind of, you know, relentless all the time. So with meditation, what we can learn to do is not stop the thoughts. That's impossible. We don't really want to do that. But we can learn to sit on the bank of the river and observe the thoughts. So rather than being, you know, plummeted around by the water, we just step out, sit down on the bank, and watch the thoughts go by. It can be a much more calming attitude, and it can help lead to all those outcomes that I was talking about at the beginning: lower stress, better performance, better sleep, etc. Just stepping out of the flow of our thoughts and sitting on the riverbank and observing them. So another helpful metaphor for you to keep in mind. So the next type of meditation that we're going to do is called guided imagery. Has anybody ever done imagery or visualization? If you're an athlete, this is something that's fairly common in athletic circles. You may have done this with as musicians, or some marching bands do this together. Anybody? Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is imagine a place, and I will walk you through that. So again, assume your position, back against the wall, feet flat on the floor. However you feel relaxed and can breathe easily. So your focal point in this meditation is not the breath, really. It's not numbers. It's a visual image of a place that makes you feel comfortable. So go ahead and close your eyes or find a focal point down and in front of you. Just start by allowing your attention to move to your breath. Let your breath become even and comfortable. Being aware of our breath is one of the quickest ways to calm our nervous system. So now I'd like you to see yourself in a place that's special to you. It could be a real place where you've actually been. It could be a beautiful spot in nature. It could be in your own home. Could be an imaginary place. Could be indoors, outdoors. It doesn't really matter. You might have several places come to mind. Choose one. So the thing that is most important about this place is that it's a place where you feel comfortable and supported. Imagine this place with all of your senses. What does it sound like in this place? Are there particular aromas or smells in this place? The air like? Imagine every aspect of this place. Notice what you're wearing. What time of year is it? What time of day are you imagining? Are you alone or with another person or more than one person or with a pet? Notice all the colors around you. What is the temperature? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it raining? Is it snowing? What are the qualities of this place that make it special to you? Now look around the place and see if there's anything else that would make the place even more comfortable. Maybe there's something you need to take out. Or maybe there's something missing that you need to bring in. Notice how your body feels in this place. Notice the attitude of your mind in this place where you feel comfortable and supported. Take some time to enjoy how it feels to be there. Remind yourself that you can return to this place or a similar place whenever you want to. And when you're ready at your own pace, let your breathing deepen. Gradually let the awareness of sitting on the chair return. Bring yourself back slowly and comfortably. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. You might be wondering at this point, why is she here talking in our music class? And so there is a reason, actually. I got interested in meditation because I felt as a performer that I wasn't able to perform in front of people like I could when I was by myself. I think it's fairly common experience. And, you know, I wanted to know, how do I get to that point where I feel standing in front of people playing the flute like I do when I'm in my practice room? And so I first started by looking into what athletes do, because, you know, there's a lot more money in athletics and they have a lot more money to do this kinds of research. And there's a lot of research that's been done that can be really helpful for us as musicians. And so, but the thing I found that seemed most helpful was this idea of meditation. And I think for me, the reason at first was because it helped my focus. I would get up to play, and I would notice that I just wasn't present. I was thinking about other stuff, or there was this chatter going on in my head kind of constantly while I was playing. And the thing that I found about meditation is that it's a way to practice that focus off the stage. So when we're on the stage playing music, we are doing something that is extremely complicated. We're using both sides of our brain. We're analyzing and we're, emotional. We have to involve both sides of our brain. We have to involve our bodies. We have to rely on years of practice, so it's a very complicated thing that we do when we get up to play, and it requires focus. Now, when we are not on the stage playing and we are, part of modern day life does everything it can to fracture our attention. I have noticed today I have 4 devices I'm carrying around. I have a watch and a phone and a computer and an iPad, and they're all dinging, and somebody wants something all the time, and we're all in this boat. And so our attention is being fractured constantly. We start to pay attention to something, and we have a ding. And so, our attention goes, like a little squirrel or a monkey, right? And so, here's an interesting fact for you about that. The amount of information that you and I take in today because of our computers and devices and the internet, we take in one day what someone 30 years ago took in 1 month. So in one day, you guys are taking in the amount of information that I took in when I was in college in a month. And the thing is, we're not always conscious of our minds taking in the stimuli, taking in the information, but it's happening. The mind takes it in, and then it decides, do I keep this? Do I put it in short-term memory? Is it something that's really important? Do I act on it? So the mind is constantly working, and at a rate that it has never had to do before modern times. And so if you find that you are tired or anxious, there is a really good reason for it. And so if that's our modern day life, that's how our waking hours are spent, and then we walk out here to play, and all these people are looking at you, and we're supposed to do this very complicated thing, it is really hard to do without practice, without practicing not just the music, but without practicing the focus. And for me, this has been extremely helpful to use meditation as a time away from practicing the flute, as a means of practicing how to focus. And so for my students, this is part of their practice time. They have to practice a certain number of hours a week, and meditation and visualization counts towards that practice time because I think it's that important. So we're going to do another visualization now. It's similar to the last one, except this one is specifically for musicians, for performers. And so what we'll be doing is imagining a performance. So I'm going to guess everybody while you're here at ETSU at some point will be performing on this stage. Is that correct? Yes? Yeah. Okay, so so I want you to close your eyes again or find your focal point. And we're going to visualize a performance together. So imagine that you have to play, or you get to play, in this class in the spring. And you get to play the solo that you've been working on for several months. So imagine that you're standing outside the doors, waiting in the wings. Think about what you're wearing for this performance. Think about what piece of music you're getting ready to play. Are you playing alone, or are you playing with someone else? Maybe a pianist, another instrumentalist, another singer. Imagine who else, if anybody, is backstage with you. Imagine thinking about all the time you've put into practicing this piece. And what it feels like to know that you are well prepared. This is music that you really like, and you want to play it for your friends, and you feel like you have something to say through this piece of music. Now imagine you hear the audience clapping, and someone opens the stage door for you to walk out. Picture yourself putting the music on the stand. Hear yourself take that first breath. And hear yourself start the piece. Think about how it feels when everything is going just like you practiced it. Imagine what it's like to collaborate with another musician. What does it feel like to have the instrument in your hands? Now imagine yourself getting to the end of the piece. You feel like you were able to do what you practiced. Imagine the audience clapping. And now see yourself walking off stage and feeling excited and proud. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So this is a technique that I first heard about from a guy named Don Green. He used to be a diving coach for Olympic diving teams. He now teaches at Juilliard, and he works with musicians and dancers. And he's written several books that are really fantastic. In one of the books, he tells a story of working with a young woman who wanted to be on an Olympic diving team. And to do that, you have to go through the Olympic trials. At the trials, you have to do 6 dives in order to qualify, and of course, you have to get a certain score. So several weeks out, 6 weeks out from the trials. She was in practice doing a dive, and she landed flat on the water on her back. Bad timing. It didn't break her back, but it damaged all the soft tissue in her back, and the team doctor said, you can't get in the water until the day of the trials. So she worked with Don Green every day when the other divers were actually practicing, climbing the stairs, going to the end of the diving board, doing the dive. She was sitting in a chair with Don Green, walking through the dive, just like you and I just walked through a performance, except in minute detail, imagining, getting ready, putting on her swimsuit, putting in one leg, and then the other leg, minute detail. Walking out, what did she see? How did the chlorine smell? What did it feel like to climb each rung of the ladder up to the diving board? And when something happened that she didn't want to happen in the real dive, she would rewind the visualization and start all over. So she did this for 6 weeks. And the first time she got in the water was at the Olympic trials. Did not get in the water at all before that. And she, at the end of 4 dives, she was on track to make the Olympic team. On the 5th dive, she didn't land quite right, and the doctor wouldn't let her continue. So it's not a Hollywood ending, but I still think it's an amazing story because she was able to accomplish this. If she had been allowed to do the next dive, she would have made the team. And she did that by imagining diving. So I am not saying that you should not take your instruments out. Let's be clear. But I am saying that we now know from research that what our mind does not differentiate between doing an activity and imagining an activity. And so if you are visualizing an activity in detail the way you want it to happen, like a performance, when you come out here to do the performance, it's going to feel like you've done it. It's going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel familiar to you. It's a very, very helpful type of meditation, I think, for musicians and performers. Yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you. I think we're about out of time. I hope some of these metaphors of the monkey mind and the river of thought can help explain how our mind works, how meditation works. You have several different types of meditation that you might try when you leave. So simply the awareness of breath, the counting in and out up to 10, the poem or meditation poem called a gatha, and then the visualization of this, kind of relaxing place, and then the performance visualization. So I hope this will be some tools in your toolbox. I know I've found it to be very helpful myself, and many of my students also have had a lot of success in both life in general and in their music performance. So I'm going to put together some resources. I don't have that with me today, but I will make a list of some resources for you of websites and books that you can look into if this is something you're interested in. And Dr. Farson and I will make sure those are sent out to you in the next week or so. So we have maybe a minute or two. If anybody has questions I can answer, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the lecture today. I have actually 2 questions. Okay, the first question is, are we not judging ourselves when we tell ourselves not to think about the past or the future? And this could be a cultural thing, but I don't know. For me, it feels natural to think about the future, especially. I
Those are great questions. Did everybody hear the questions? So the first question, are we judging ourselves when we say, don't think about the past or the future? I mean, that's an excellent question. And I think usually in this context, when we say that we should be non-judgmental, it's more about good or bad, rather than noticing. So there's a difference between noticing and judging. And sometimes I think there can be a difference between discerning something and judging. So when we're practicing our instruments or singing, for instance, we have to discern, is this the sound I want or not? Is this, am I in tune or not? Am I playing the right note or not? So there is discernment there, absolutely. But we can do that in a way that's not judgmental, in a way that's not, God, that was terrible. You're so dumb. Why did you do that? We can tend to talk to ourselves that way. We would never, ever talk to someone else that way, but we can tend to turn that voice on ourselves. And that's where we go from kind of discernment or noticing into judging, which is what we want to avoid. And of course, there are times when we need to judge something, a situation, or, but it's being aware of when we're doing that and what the situation is. And then the next question, which I love, is, should this be a separate activity, or is this something that we should incorporate in our daily lives? And I think, ideally, we would do everything mindfully, but that's a tall order. So I think in my experience and from the reading I've done, people who practice meditation in this more formalized way of sitting, with your eyes closed and following a focal point, they do find that in their daily lives then, they are more likely to be mindful. So the practice, the formal practice, kind of weaves its way into everyday life. Yeah, great questions. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It happens to everybody. And yeah, well, often that means that you're sleepy and you should go to sleep. I mean, it's your body's telling you something, right? So, and there is, we have an epidemic of sleep deprivation in this country, and I would imagine we're not the only country that has that issue. So, it's very likely that you are not rested enough. Yeah, but some people do find, that they tend to fall asleep during certain meditations. There's one in particular, a body scan meditation, where you're kind of systematically going through and relaxing parts of your body. It's often done lying down, and many, many people find that they can't make it through that without falling asleep. So in that case, people may choose to do a walking meditation or do an eating meditation. Or one example I hear a lot in meditation circles is people find washing the dishes to be very meditative. So you might find something that's a little more active that you can kind of use as a basis for meditation if you find yourself falling asleep. But generally it means, you need to go to bed earlier. Anybody else? Yeah. So for me, and I'm sure this is somewhat different for everybody, I tend to try to start visualizing a couple weeks out from a performance. And I make it a part of my practice. And I have to say, it's kind of hard. At first it was hard for me to, it felt like if the flute wasn't in my hands, that wasn't really practicing. So I had to make this mental switch and kind of trust that doing that kind of practice, that mental practice, was going to be helpful to me. So, I think including it in your practice, even if there's not a performance coming up, can be helpful. I mean, some people do this kind of visualization with a particular passage they're working on. So let's say they're working on a really difficult measure. If you close your eyes and visualize yourself playing the measure correctly, which fingers move, what happens with the embouchure, what happens with the air, that can also be a really helpful practice technique. I personally don't tend to do that right before I walk out for a performance. That, for me, I'm usually going to be doing more of an awareness of breath type of meditation. But anybody watch the Olympics? The last one was last year or something. I don't know. There's one coming up in the summer. And you will see them, when I was watching skiers and noticed, right before they went down the slope, they'd be standing on the side, and you could see them kind of going through the motions of what they were about to do. So a type of meditation, for sure. Great question. What else? All right. Well, thank you all. Thanks for being open to trying this, and I hope it's something you find helpful. Thank you.